Yeah, so how we doing? My name is Joshua Petty. I'm doing a memorable speech, I apologize. And the speech I'm going to talk about, actually takes place about 8 years ago now. My daughter's name is Jocelyn Smith Petty, and she was not feeling well, like I said, about 8 years ago. So what we did is we took her to the hospital, as any parents would. Actually, I was still at work at this time. Her mother and her younger brother went to the hospital, and what happened is there had been several kids there that weekend. There was a flu bug going around. As everyone is aware, this happens at the beginning of winter, pretty much every single year. Um, she was given medications. I want to say that a Tylenol and a ibuprofen, and told to switch between the two until the fever went down. Her pains would go down as well. Normal thought process. I get home from work. Well, actually, my wife at the time, which is now my ex-wife, their mother called me on my ride home, and she said, "Jocelyn's not feeling any better. She's not acting any better. She's not complaining any less. I wonder what's going on." So I get there, and the minute, like the very moment that I saw her, I knew like something was wrong. This is not something is wrong. So we go back to the hospital in Greensboro, Moses Cone, and I just told him, I said, something's wrong. This is not that bug that everybody has. Something is wrong. So they get her a room, and they want to get some tests ran on her, and just out of nowhere she goes into like a seize moment. She has a seizure, and she is right-handed, and her left hand, her fingers begin to clutch like this, and her arms here to the chest. So what happens is it won't stay open, and her fingers won't stay open. So those stay like clenched like this, and then her arm is to her chest. Well, at this moment, she stops the seizing, and her arm and her fingers are still locked in that position. And they decide to rush her to Wake Forest and Winston-Salem. And we rush her out there, and they run some tests, and they find out that she has some fluid on her brain. And actually, what happened is she had a virus in her system, and it got in her head, it got in her brain, and the fluids were in her brain. And of course, that medicine can't do nothing once it gets in your brain. That Tylenol, ibuprofen, that won't do a thing. And so, what ended up happening is they wanted to do emergency surgery, and the family was there, and of course they came and talked to me, her father, and I said yes. And at the time, the number one surgeon in North Carolina was a resident of Wake Forest Hospital, and I said, he talked to me, and I said, let's do it now. And this is a memorable story. Excuse me. I try not to get choked up with anything, but it's very, very memorable because he warned me, that her arm may not ever come back. He warned me that if everything went perfect and she woke up, she may not even know who any of us were. Um, but let's just say the surgery for me, it seemed like the surgery was a week long. But the reality is, it may have been an hour. It may have been an hour, but it felt like weeks went by. Um, I worked the first shift job as I do now. Um, so I would go to work, and my mother and her mother would stay there with her. And when I would get off work, I would come there, and they would go to the Ronald McDonald House and get some rest, and I would lay with my daughter. I slept in the hospital bed with her, and we would exercise her arm. We would exercise her fingers. And it's safe to say that before we left, a week, a week after her surgery, before we left, she had feeling back in her arm where she could open her arm, she could open her fingers, all her toes worked. She knew exactly who every single family member was. She now makes straight A's and B's. Well, she has some B's, but she's been on all A honor roll, and she hasn't been under a B honor roll since. And like I said, this was 8 years ago. So yeah, that's probably the best story that I could ever give. Your daughter having fluid on her brain, excruciating. I don't even know if you can call that a migraine. That's got to be like beyond a migraine. You know, if you can imagine your brain in a fight for space, your brain versus some fluid that doesn't belong there. I mean, and for a child, you know, to just fight. I mean, when I say she fought, and just to know, man, that now, I mean, if I don't tell this story, people don't even know it. They have no idea just the way she talks. She has a great heart. And so her dream is to be a brain surgeon one day. And I tell her, if that's what you want to do, I'm with you 100%. I get it. I understand it. You know, and I think that's the most memorable story that I could give. Thank you.